So we all want to be financially successful, but no matter where you are in your financial journey, you are gonna need a strategy.
If you don't dictate how little tax you pay, then you can never really generate wealth or get rid of debt completely.
Yeah.
Now, before we hop into today's show, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Now let's hop into the video.
Hey, Katrina, what are the two things? So we are getting towards the end of the tax season, right? Pretty much everyone who has already filed and gotten money back.
Yes.
They did that in January,
Absolutely.
February.
Yes.
It's us who are business owners who waited to the last minute to file because we typically pay. So right now with us getting towards the end of tax season, going into the rest of this year, what are a couple of things that people from your chair in the tax place, what are people doing right now in the tax season?
So yeah, you're absolutely right, Anthony. This is the time that business owners start to trickle in, right? So the other day we had an actual deadline for S corporations and partnerships, March 15th.
Yeah.
The next deadline is April 18th this year for C corporations and for individuals, right?
Okay.
So what a lot of people are doing is either waiting. This is the extension era, right? Like, put me on extension. I'm still not ready, right? And so we try to get people in. This is the people that usually the individuals that know they're not getting a refund back or getting a very little refund back. So this is about the time that they start to come in.
Yeah.
And then of course business owners. What I'm finding a lot is small business owners negate the financial piece of the business, right?
Talk to us, all right.
So they don't do the bookkeeping. So a lot of times when this time happens, it's the scram and try to gather things or try to get information in the right place. Or I'm sending my accountant all my receipts. We don't take receipts, right? We may review receipts, but we're not actually going to put in. We're not putting receipts together for you in tax season.
Man, you talking?
So this is the time where the rubber really meets the road for a lot of people, and this is when you know that whether you've been planning or not.
Yep.
So this is where a lot of people find that they've messed up a little bit. There's one thing I saw on your podcast before where you talked about building wealth and getting rid of debt.
Yep.
But the thing that a lot of people think is if you're never doing any tax planning, you can never do either one of those things.
Ooh.
Because all income is taxed, right?
Yes.
And so if you don't dictate how little tax you pay, then you can never really generate wealth, build wealth, or get rid of debt completely.
Yeah. I was doing a study, not really studying, because I'm not an expert like you in this field, right? But I'm always researching and just looking up different stats and facts. And I found this fact, and correct me if I'm wrong, because it could be a wrong fact, but I found that nearly 70% of small business owners do not do books.
Absolutely.
And I was like, 70% do not have QuickBooks or some type of bookkeeping in place.
Yeah.
And when I first started, my CPA is Shania. And man, when I first started my business, I was like, hey, sis, like I'm only making like, $250,000 right now. And she's like, that's a lot of money. What's up with your books?
Right.
I said, books? what you mean books?
Yeah.
I got a bank account. She said, no. How are you keeping track of every dollar that you're spending? And I was like, I got to do that? She's like, yes, Anthony. You budget your personal stuff. How come you're not keeping books over here? And so I promise you, retain her services. I went to, I'm applying for, I'm saying this for the first time on my own show. But I am buying some land.
Love it.
On a river. And when I went to get approved for the land, because the only debt that I'm cool with, y'all know this, is real estate.
Real estate, absolutely.
And when I went to get approved, and even for, I'm buying land, Katrina, and I'm also getting us a new building to shoot the show out of, because we're just growing. And each one of those people, the landlord of the building that I'm renting and the bank who's asking, who's going to be financing my land, they ask, hey, can you send us over your taxes and your P&L?
Yeah.
And a lot of business owners know about the word P&L, but they don't know that it starts with your books.
Yeah.
And when I sent him over my taxes and my P&L and how detailed it was due to my CPA, like it says, and this is what you help people out with, like they were like approved, easy, to the T. Because like, yo, your P&L is detailed.
Yes.
We see everything, contractors, W-2 employees, your income, spending over here, flights, hotels. We see your profit clearly. Why do you think in your chair, small business owners have a problem and they do not do bookkeeping?
Yeah. I think a lot of people fall into business, right? You know, we operate.
Hold on. Wait. We ain't gonna just let that slide, though. You know what I'm saying? How do you just fall into business?
I think people operate from their gifts, right? They operate from their gifts. It's a natural thing, and then you start to make money at it, right?
Come on now.
And then so there's like, oh, I got to track this. If you've got a creative mind, then financial stuff may not be your forte, right? And so you're operating in your gifts and making money. You're like, I got to report this at the end of the year. I'll just report it and I'll let somebody else deal with it, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, if this is your gift, you're doing it a disservice.
Yeah.
If you're not really affording it the opportunity to grow. Because if you're not managing your money, if you're not managing it, you can't really do anything outside of that, right?
Facts.
And I think a lot of people, I always say, from a business is a four-leg table, right?
Okay, talk to us.
You've got your operations.
Hold on, wait, I'm writing this down. Hope y'all writing this down too. All right, so you got operations.
You've got your operations, you've got your marketing.
Okay, marketing.
You've got your finance.
Okay, finance.
And then you've got your management piece, right? You got to manage all these things.
Okay.
So a lot of times the people they love the marketing piece, they may love the management piece, they may love the operations piece, but the finance piece is a piece that most people don't want to deal with. They want the money, the income.
They want the income.
But the tracking piece is a different part. Ooh. And nobody wants to deal with taxes until it's tax time.
Yep.
But putting your hand in the sand is really doing that. It's still happening. The world's still spinning. You know, so I think the biggest thing is a lot of people do fall into business and all of a sudden, because I talk to them, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you know, I was starting to keep, I keep all my receipts. I got my bank statements. It's like, but what good is that?
Come on.
You know?
Yeah.
You can't get funding because the first thing they're going to ask for is a profit and loss, a balance sheet.
Yep.
I'm like, at the least, do an Excel spreadsheet or a Google spreadsheet and just track your month.
No. Yo, real quick, you guys, are you looking to change your career here in the year 2023? If so, look no further than Bethel School of Technology, the only Christian online tech boot camp in the world. According to a recent report, Black people make up just about 4% of the U.S. technology workforce. But you see, at Bethel Tech, who I've partnered with for this year, they believe that all people, including us Black people, should have access to the lucrative and fulfilling opportunities in the tech industry. Now, with their 9-month program, you'll gain the essential skills you need to start a successful career in technology. And let's not forget the earning potential. You see, according to Indeed, the average salary of a software developer in the U.S. is around $103,000. Say what? You know, you can choose from programs like the cybersecurity and UI UX design and launch your tech career or even a tech business ignited with passion and purpose. So listen, we're going to skip the debt and we're going to invest into yourself for just 9 months that can change the next 9 years of your life. All you got to do is join Bethel Tech today to achieve your career aspirations. Visit anthonyoneil.com/Bethel or click the link in today's show notes today so you can register and start a new journey of your life. Now, you know what? Let's get back to the show because this is a good one today. Let's keep it a buck.
You say don't give them any leeway.
No, we ain't give them no leeway. We don't do that here. You know what I'm saying? Because we can't expect to run a 7-figure business
you can't get to
operating like we're making $50,000 a year.
You're right.
We can't ask God to touch something and make it excellent if we're giving subpar.
You're right. Yeah.
And so, you know, I rock with you. You know what I'm saying? But nah, Excel.
You're right.
No, now I get it. I have an Excel thing because I track on a daily basis because our income fluctuates.
Right.
So we get money every day.
Yeah.
Right? And so I do have an Excel of this so I can keep track of it quickly.
Yes.
But inside of my QuickBooks, oh no, it's thorough.
It needs to be.
It's thorough. And I pay a lot of money for my QuickBook accounts.
It needs to be. And then what I find a lot of times is people have a business that springs from their current business, like all of a sudden another ancillary product starts to pop, right?
Yep.
And then they just keep it grouped together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's another business, right? That's another business. And I see that a lot, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
So everything in this, even with people that do have a QuickBooks account, they have it all in one. I'm like, everything's operating, and I'm like, okay. My favorite line, and my cousin coined this, I think, I don't know, make it make sense.
Yeah.
And, because, and I tell clients
No, literally, though.
Literally. I tell clients that all the time because they're like, can I write this off? Okay, explain to me how it makes sense.
Yeah.
Because you can write personal things off, but I need to we need to figure out what's the business need for it, right?
Exactly.
We just got to make sure that we quantify this because we always operate from the perspective that we're going to be audited.
That's so good.
Don't hide your head thinking I don't want to be audited. Think from a perspective of if I'm audited, I got my paperwork.
Absolutely.
I got my ducks in a row.
Yes.
And not from a fear factor of I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to be audited. I always tell clients that the biggest thing is you got to validate what you're saying. If we can validate it, then I'm with it, right?
Yeah.
What was the need for you to make this purchase?
Right.
I'm thinking about going into another field of business. Okay, well, did you set up a new LLC?
Yep.
We're not just going to operate it under this business, right?
Yep.
And another thing that I find a lot of times is I'll get clients who put the cart before the horse, right?
Okay, talk to us. What you mean by that?
I had a client that I was talking to a few weeks ago, and he came in for tax planning, right? He was like, he's making multi-millions in his business, and he's ready to build out a tax plan because he doesn't want to pay a lot of taxes. But as I'm talking to him, and I'm like, send me over copies of your last 2 years' tax returns. He's like, oh, that's the thing. I don't have my last 2 years' tax returns. And I was like, well, when was the last time you filed?
How you make 7 figures?
Making 7 figures.
And you ain't filed taxes?
In 7 years.
So you know what that means? He doesn't value his own business. Because how do you make that much money and you don't want to pay what you owe? I'm not saying overpay. But I mean, if you're making 7 figures, that means you're not stewarding your money well. You just blowing the money. You're not, I'm going to say this and people can get upset with me. You ain't paid taxes in 2 years, you ain't running no business.
Yeah.
You're not running a business.
Yeah.
What you're doing is making money and spending money. But you're not running a business. Actually, no. You're not running a business. You are literally an employee. You're self-employed.
That's a good way to put it.
You're not running a business.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
You're self-employing yourself.
Yeah.
Bad grammar. You're employing yourself. Because trust me, I don't like paying my taxes.
Yeah.
I do not like it. But when my CPA tells me, hey, you got to pay your taxes quarterly, I'm like, this sucks. But I'm like, here's the thing too, though, which I think what I want to talk to you about, because you're helping people. You're even helping my right-hand man, CJ Ners, who also has his own business as well. And you're his EA and helping him get stuff situated as well on his side of things. But it's like, I told this to all my friends. I'm like, yo, listen, you guys, it sucks paying taxes. But it's like, at the same time, the fact that I can pay taxes, that's where I get excited about.
Yeah.
What I'm paying out in taxes, at one point in time, was my salary.
Ooh, that's a beautiful thing,
you
isn't
know
it?
what I'm saying?
Yes.
So when I cut the check to IRS, I hate it, but I also like it. The fact that I can get the IRS a 6-figure check,
it's a blessing.
I'm like, well, look at God.
Look at God.
Because that was my salary one time.
Absolutely.
And I'm like, we can't ask God to bless a mess. We can't ask God, well, give me 10 million if we can't even steward the 1 million that we're making.
Absolutely.
And people think, well, I'm making this money. Yeah, great. Just pay your taxes, man. And I want to go back because I like practical things. Outside, I know QuickBooks is what I use. Are there any other programs that may be for bookkeeping that is cost effective for like new people who are maybe only making? Let me ask you this question, and then let's give them some other resources. Right? When should you start tracking and doing bookkeeping? Like, is it like past 10,000, 5,000 when you start the business? No matter what, when should you start?
Yeah. I think the minute you start the business.
Come on now.
You know, because in all honesty, you can start doing it yourself from the very beginning and just get familiar, because you're going to have to do this all the time, right?
Yep.
So from the very beginning, and then after you start making enough money where you don't need to have your hands in every pot, hire somebody to manage it for you.
That's good. That's really good. Before I connected with mine, I went on, where did I go? It was a Upwork or something like that. And the lady was like, and I was a little nervous because she was cheap.
Doesn't have the factor like this is too low.
This is too low. She was like $200 a month.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, wow, some of y'all may be saying, Anthony, $200, that's a lot of money. But for bookkeeping, that's a lot
to manage
of work.
Your money, yeah.
To categorize everything, upload everything, get everything right for my filing time. I was like, compared to what everyone else was charging me and quoting me, I was like, from that to $200.
Yeah.
My mama always said, you don't go with the highest and you don't go with the lowest. You go right in between. Because the lowest, you're going to get low work.
Yeah.
The highest, you're going to get too much work.
Yeah.
That middle, you're going to get it right. You're going to get it right. And I was like, $200, that's it?
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. But I mean, there are places to where you can hire someone.
Yes.
To do it. And do you recommend, okay, answer this question. What's a good number? It's like when they're making, and maybe I'm off, but I think right around on your side business, we teach build a personal brand here or start a business, brick and mortar, whatever it is. I think when you start making above, you know what I'm saying? What's that number? About $50,000?
Yeah, $50,000 is the sweet spot, yeah.
You need to hire somebody.
Absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. Even probably before that, a lot of times I think, and I'm a victim of this too, right?
Okay.
We shy away from hiring people because we're like, it's going to cost me money. But we don't realize the ROI on that, right? It's going to make me money because it frees me up.
Yes.
I just bought time.
Yes.
You know, so a lot of times we hold ourselves back because we're scared to make that investment into another individual. We got to move forward. You know, sometimes I'm like, figure it out later, just get to going.
Right.
You know. And a lot of times I see people all the time that have hindered their business because they've held off on hiring people. They've held off on getting their books looked at. They've missed funding. I have so many people that call because they're trying to get financing and realize that, oh, I need a profit and loss statement.
Come on.
And it's like, can you get this to me in 2 weeks? It's like, it's September. You want me to do two? You know?
Hey, you know what? I get it to you, but I'm going to tax you.
The price is ridiculous. Right?
I'm going to tax you hard.
The price is ridiculous because time time is money, right?
It sure is. Oh my goodness! Listen, y'all. Listen to me. Hear me clearly. A lot of you all have side businesses, and you do not have your books in order. You don't have the financing stuff in order. And I know. Trust me, y'all. I do money, and I don't get excited about going to do my books. And literally, me and my firm, we are literally going down. And we're even going deeper in our books because I want to know every 4 legs, how much money am I spending in those 4 legs?
Absolutely.
And so that way I can make pivots and changes in my company, because how can you grow a company if you don't know where you're spending your money at?
You don't even really know how much you're making.
Exactly.
When I ask people, that's the first question I ask. What did you bring in last year? What was your revenue?
But they give you gross.
They don't even know sometimes. Sometimes people don't even know. They're like, I think I made about...
Oh, no.
Yeah, and
I know every single day how much money I've made gross and what's net. But I want to know, okay, what leg of my company is producing the most?
Absolutely.
Where am I spending more money at? And where do I need to pivot? If I'm spending more money over there, is it worth my ROI?
Absolutely.
And if it's not, okay, I need to make some changes.
Absolutely.
You know, we just made some staff changes here because it was like we were effective, but we weren't as effective.
Right.
And when I saw the money, I was like, wait, I could be more effective over here to free us all up, to give us all back some time, bring in some more help so we can even be more impactful.
Absolutely.
But I couldn't have seen that if I would not have sat down with the firm and be like, okay, great. This is, wow, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
And it's like, one of my friends said something, you can't, Darius Daniels says this all the time. I forgot, I'm going to paraphrase it. He was like, you can't, that's what it is. You can't adjust something if you don't assess it.
Yes.
And it's like, if you're not always assessing your company and assessing your books and assessing your finances, you can't make the proper adjustments to move forward.
Yes, and that's in line with this famous saying, you can't manage what you don't
measure.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And that's the truth.
That he said that.
It's the
I
truth.
came up with the A's.
you remixed
You
it.
can't adjust without assessing. He says you can't measure. I mean, you can't manage what you don't measure.
And it's true.
That is so true.
It's the truth. It's the truth. I see that. I have this conversation just about with every client, and it's crazy because a lot of times people will say, why am I paying tax this much? Why am I? Yeah. Because they're not managing, they don't know, like, you made this amount of money. And here's the kicker, though. A lot of times where I think it really comes into play is you're missing deductions.
Come on. They don't even know that.
You're missing deductions because a lot of people are commingling, like mixing with personal and the business, right? And then the second thing is just not keeping track, and then not working with advisors that can tell you what's taxable versus what's not. And we talked about this a little bit too, like the people that are getting the social media highlights about a tax strategy, but not the details of how to implement it.
Stay right there. Stay right there. We're gonna stay right there.
Yeah.
Because I'm on YouTube. I'm on social media, and I get that. Like I do. So I don't want to knock people who are on YouTube or social media giving advice.
Yeah.
I hate it when people call me an influencer, because I'm not an influencer. Right. I'm a thought leader. Like I live what I teach. I'm living.
Right.
If I'm not living it, I don't do taxes. Right. You do taxes. Right. That's why you're at the table.
Yep.
And I'm asking you the questions.
Yes.
But I'm not going to sit here and give all this thorough tax advice, and I'm not a tax expert. And I get tired of getting on TikTok. I get tired of getting on Instagram. Yeah, man, you want to write this off. Go buy this right here and write this off, because if you write this off, put this up in the LLC with the trust will cover all of that. You can write it off 100%. Yeah. And I'm like, there's so much more that you need to be teaching, because what you just said will get people audited, get some people locked up, and get some people in financial trouble.
Right, yeah.
What is one thing you've seen on social media? One thing that you've seen on social media as an EA, and we're going to break down, because people are saying, you keep calling her EA. We're going to break down what is an EA. Yeah. But what is one thing that you see on social media that you're like, hey, okay, this is partially correct, but there's a lot more to that?
Yeah. Hiring your kids.
Hiring your kids?
Yeah.
Uh-oh, you about to make somebody upset.
Yeah.
I be seeing that all the time.
Yeah. I mean, and the fact of the matter is the highlight is real, right? You can hire your kids and it's a tax deduction.
Yeah.
It's the how-to, right? They're missing that part.
Okay,
right?
How do we do that properly?
Properly hire your kids. You have to, now we got to look at the ages, right?
Okay, let me give you, is there an age you can do it?
Yeah, so there's a way to do it by age, right? Okay. So let's
say 10 years old.
10 years old, right?
Yep.
So what job are we going to give a 10-year-old, right? Because they got to have a job. They got to have a real job description.
They got to have a real job description, correct.
So what is your 10-year-old going to do? So we need to have them a job. The same way you will hire an outside employee is the same category that you have to hire your kids under. Okay. So you need to have a job description. Okay. What are the hours that they're working? What's their schedule?
Got to have hours in schedule.
Yeah, you need to at least track the time, right? Because if you have an employee, you're tracking their time, right? Okay. What's their pay rate, right?
Pay rate.
We can't just say, give them $12,500, but how? How do we do that?
But wait a minute. They said just give them $12,500 put inside the, the little investment account. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And you straight, and then the father can write it off, and they good.
It works, but you got to do these, like, the middle part.
All the stuff.
The middle part. It's missing the meat in the sandwich, right?
And then, if I'm not mistaken, too, the pay rate has to match their job description and hours.
It needs to make sense. Make it make sense, right? And then, so they need to have a job description. You need to decide. So if they're 7 years old to 10 years old, right? Okay. You're paying them. They have their job. It needs to be a job that they could technically really do, right? Okay. Okay. And so you're not going to have them. This is my driver, and they don't have a driver's license, right?
Right.
So they're driving my G-Wagon, right?
So a lot of people are saying, hey, I'm using my kid as a model of modeling of maybe the clothing items that I'm promoting.
Absolutely.
A 10-year-old can do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you need to have an agreement that says that my child's modeling rate is this.
Okay.
And this is what they're going to have. And you need to have the money go from your business bank account, like you're paying an employee, to the child's bank account. You can be the custodian on that account. But when I see hire your kids and just pay them $12,500, I'm like, ooh, there's so much more to it to validate this, right? You can't just hand the kids the money directly. It can't be the allowance and you write it off in your business. There's a process. If the same way you would hire an employee, you would hire your kids, right?
Yep.
And it is a tax strategy. The other one I see all the time is live rent free. And they're really talking about the Augusta Rule, where you get 14 days where you don't have, if you take 14 days or less, you don't have to pay, you don't have to report that income, right? But there's a process with that as well. Everything, the IRS has a process for everything, right?
Right.
So it needs to be fair market value for the rent, right? 14 days or less. You need to look for the other areas, what the going rate is for other venues in your area, so you can validate how you came up with your fair market value, right? I think put everything in a folder, right?
Right.
When you do have, so say for example, if you're renting your place out to your business, those let's say one day a month, right?
Right.
What was the meeting purpose? Who attended? What was the topics? You need to keep notes, meeting minutes to validate. If you get audited, you need to say, here.
So Katrina, I'm going to host a mastermind at my personal home. It's going to be for a weekend. 3 days.
Yep.
Here are my things. So for me to legally and ethically do it correctly, you're saying that I need to look at what is the going rate in my subdivision, or just like in this county?
Just in the area. So you can call like local hotels that have rental spaces in there for venues. You can see what those rates are. You know, find something that's comparable, right? And the rates that are going to be right? So you find something that's comparable and you say that their daily rate is $1,000 a day. So I'm gonna charge myself $1,000 a day.
Okay. And then let's say if it's $1,000 a day going around here, that's $3,000. You're saying legally and ethically you can write off $3,000, but some people are saying this is how you write off $12,000 just by charging yourself. What's that? $4,000 a day. Yeah. When the IRS can come in and audit and be like, okay, wait, cool, you charged yourself $4,000, but we did some research. That's not even the going rate around your area.
Yeah. Where did you come up with this number?
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's just a rental. So a lot of people thinking, well, that's a rental, but what about the food? Well, that's a different
category.
Right.
Yep.
So the rent, boom. And then you could do that once a year or twice a year?
You can do 14 days a year.
14 days.
14 days, as long as it's 14 days and under, that's the Augusta Rule, where you don't have to claim you can take the deduction from the business, right? But you don't have to, even if it's not a business, right? If you did the Augusta Rule, because where it really started from was Augusta, Georgia, for the masters, right? So people were renting their homes out to accommodate people to come to the masters every year. And they were like, wait a minute. We shouldn't be paying tax on this income. We're doing a service. So they fought it in court and won. Well, it doesn't, whatever wins for the IRS court, it applies to everybody who's receiving, in the U.S. income, right? And so that applies to all of us. We all get to do that strategy. However, it has to be done it has to be done right.
Let me ask you this question, a good question. So some people work out of their home. Okay, so let's say if they're working out of their home, they're writing off a percentage of the square footage of their home, right? And then can the Augusta Rule go on top of that?
It can, but I always caution people about that, right? Because you're double dipping, right?
Come on.
So I'm always like, we got to lay these out. This is where the planning comes in place, right?
Yes.
Because then we have to lay out, what are we saying? Are we contradicting ourselves here? Are we shooting ourselves in the foot? So we have to lay it out. Now, if we're only saying that we're using the home just a small percentage, right? Then yeah, we can go on top of that. But we really have to be cautious to say we need to make sure we're validating our claim, right? Here's when we use our office. This is when we use the other area of the home. We didn't use our office for that. We use this other space. And we use that 14 days or less, right? So we have to really think through things. It can't happen after the fact. We really need to think about it when we're planning things out.
Talking good.
And that's why I say a lot of times the tax filing time that's just a checkbox for the IRS. That's compliance, right? Planning happens all year when you're making the money. What am I going to do with this? And it doesn't just happen for business owners. It happens for people that are employees too, right?
Yes.
Because there's two ways that we're taxed. If you're a W-2 employee and you're working for someone, you make your money, they pay the taxes, and then you get what's left, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas a business owner, you make your money, you pay what you need to pay, and then you get taxed on what's left.
Yep.
So same outcome, but where we have the control at is up top, right? We can, from a business owner's perspective, we control what the deductions are.
Yep.
So we need to implement strategies on maximizing those deductions, right?
You talking.
But as a W-2 employee, as an employee, most of your savings are gonna come from pre-tax.
Exactly.
So you got to get it before the IRS gets to them, before it even gets to you, right?
Yes.
So you need to make sure you're maximizing your 401k, your health savings account, your flex spend, any options that you have for pre-tax, clean them out.
Yes, yes.
Because you're not seeing the money anyway.
No.
It's already gone through the mill.
Facts.
And start a business.
Facts.
Because that's where your real strategy is going to come in at.
Come on.
You bake a cake, all of a sudden you're a baker, right? Then you realize you make so much money baking, you don't need this to do this anymore.
Hey, man.
And then, but from this perspective, as a business owner, oh God, you can clean up, but you have to do it the right way. And it's not like you're just trying to say, I'm taking deduction up on top of deduction. If you're buying assets for your business, if you're actually doing things in your business, you're supposed to get this stuff off anyway.
Come on. I think one of the things I remember, I'll never forget, I got my first, on my own, I got my first large check. They mailed me the first one. It was $35,000. And in my head, my flesh said, boy, that's $35,000.
Yes.
You're going to deposit $35,000. And then the business side of me said, but I ain't no $35,000. That's about $20,000.
Yes. Tax it.
That's already in my head. It's like, bro, you are the money guy. You cannot mess up on this. So I opened up another account. And so now I move money automatically. Anytime money is deposited into our account, a certain percent of it is moved into a
Profit
tax
first,
account.
yes.
Because I'm like, I just want to make sure that I'm wise and I'm smart with my money. And I think, too, to give people just, which I don't want to give them an escape. But I am the money guy, so I'm a little bit more anal with my money, right? But I think all business owners, I have a lot of friends, I have a lot of peers, and they just tell me, like, man, I haven't filed in a few years.
Yeah.
I have a real good friend in Cali, and he told me that him and his wife hasn't filed in almost 3 years.
Yeah.
And they're in the hair industry. And I'm like, bro, listen, the IRS is slow, but they don't forget. Bro.
Yeah.
And they gonna hit you right when you don't expect it.
Yeah.
And if you ain't paid taxes in 3 years, and you don't pay this year or next year, you looking at 6 figures you're gonna have to cut. And that's 6 figures plus fees.
Yeah.
You can't afford that.
Yeah.
And then now you're gonna be in real trouble.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people need to connect with you.
Yeah, and even when they do owe like that, there's a solution for that too, right?
Good.
So we do representation and resolution for them to either get an offer in compromise or installment agreements. We do work with people in that area too, and speak on their behalf. But I do say, I've dealt with that a lot, and where people have called, my bank account is frozen. And it's like the panic sets in, right?
Yeah.
Or they've gotten an IRS letter certified, and all of a sudden it's like, I'm like,
it's real.
Yeah, because there's a process.
When they certify, they letting you know, we on the way.
or they've got, somebody's trying to sell their house and they got a lien on them. They can't sell it. So it's really real, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times, even when people are trying to file bankruptcy, you know, I have a partnership with the bankruptcy attorney. He sends them over when they have to, because they have to have their last 2 years' tax returns. So he's like, these people need their tax returns done. They need their tax returns done. And so it's a requirement.
I gotta ask a question.
Yeah.
Are these black people or white people?
Everybody.
Okay.
Everybody.
I feel good.
Everybody. Oh no, this happens on all ends.
That makes my heart feel real.
It happens on all ends.
Good to hear that, because I get so, I don't know the word, like I just get nervous, man.
It's really people that have earned, it's really income earners too, like high income earners, because they do get taxed. You do get taxed so much, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times they like, I'm just not going to deal with it this year. And then you know how that cycle starts, and then you're not dealing with it next year, and then you're not dealing with it next year. These are doctors, attorneys, everything, you know. Yeah. But once that cycle starts, it's like, I don't even want to pull the Band-Aid off.
No, you don't.
Until they get a freeze on their account, or a lien letter, or a certified letter, then it becomes very real.
Or until, and then what I'm sensing too now is that, especially in the small business world, is I didn't file taxes, and they don't understand not filing taxes actually costing you more money, because when you go to buy a home, yeah, you can still finance a home without filing taxes.
Yeah.
You're going to go a bank statement loan route.
Which is expensive.
And that's going to be market value plus like 2%.
Yeah.
That's expensive right now.
It really is.
That's 8-9%
Absolutely.
on your money.
Yeah.
And I'm like, rather than you just filing taxes and then getting a conventional loan, now you're at market rate plus 2%.
And you're still going to eventually have to file the taxes.
Eventually, sooner or later.
There's no work
There's
around
no
that.
work around it. Like, because if you're ever going to want to get back on the right track, you're going to have to file taxes. And watch this. And if you want to stay on the right track, after you fix yourself, you're going to have to start managing your books right.
Absolutely.
So it's like, why not start the process now with a company like yours?
Yeah.
It was a great leeway into you. I've been calling you an EA. And I don't think a lot of people know what an EA is.
Yes, it's crazy.
We know what a financial advisor is. We know what a CPA is, and we even know we know what a bookkeeper is. But what is an EA, and what's the difference between an EA and a CPA?
Absolutely. No, I'm glad you asked this question. All right, where's the camera? So an EA stands for Enrolled Agent, right?
Okay.
So an Enrolled Agent is the highest licensing that the IRS authorizes, right?
Wow.
So federally licensed, we have to, similar to a CPA, we take 4 tests.
Okay.
Well, no, we take 3.
3.
Our 3 tests, but they're all tax law.
Okay.
Very intensive tests. The CPAs take 4 tests. 1 test is tax.
Okay.
The other are accounting, right?
Okay.
So an EA specializes in tax law, taxation, representation, right, for taxes. CPAs are state licensed, EAs are federally licensed, right?
Wow.
But we all do the same. Most of us do the same things. Sometimes I'll have people call me and say, I'm looking for a CPA. But all CPAs don't necessarily do taxes, right?
Gotcha.
Some just do accounting. Most do, but some don't do taxes.
Right.
Whereas an enrolled agent specializes in taxes.
You specialize in taxes. And a CPA specializes
in accounting.
Accounting. Wow. And a part of accounting
is
taxes.
Absolutely.
That is so
Absolutely.
good.
Absolutely. Yeah. So enrolled agents, if you're thinking tax law, taxation, tax representation, enroll that's all of our testing.
That's
right?
all of your testing.
And then we have to do so many hours a year to keep our licensing active, and then all of those things. So I'm in classes twice a month.
Wow.
Because the law changes. Like I was saying earlier, I'm like, the law probably changed today, right?
Wow.
So you twice a month. Every quarter I'm at a conference, because this is not something, an industry where you can rest on your laurels.
Yeah.
Where, like I said, I got it, I'm set it and forget it. No.
Yeah.
The IRS requires that we keep hours every year, that we have to have so many in ethics, we have so many in tax law, we have so many in retirement savings, because taxes cover everything, right? And so, enrolled agents specialize in taxes, all things taxes.
See, let me tell y'all something. This is why y'all need to be watching what y'all be watching on TikTok. Because they're not in school 2 times a month. They're not going to conferences. What they're doing is Googling stuff. And some of the stuff on Google is false. Or it may not be false, it's outdated. And those strategies have changed, and those laws have changed. Like that one law just changed. People talking about how you can write off a 6,000-pound car 100%. That law changed.
It's 80% now.
It's 80% now. And I'm like, and I'm still seeing people on TikTok, here's how to write off your car for 6,000 pounds. I'm like, bro, you're lying. You cannot legally and ethically do that right now.
Yeah.
Then I see someone who says, well, there's always a way around something. And there probably is. But that's why you can get with an EA or CPA and figure out, okay, can I do this legally and ethically?
Yeah.
And if you can, cool, great. But you just can't go off of, let me go buy this because a TikToker said it.
Yeah. You better ask questions.
You better retain
ask questions.
someone and get in there. And talking about retaining someone, why is it important to retain someone like yourself, an EA?
Yeah.
Because some people may say, man, that's expensive. You know, and let's be honest, it ain't cheap.
Absolutely.
But without you, it's it can be expensive.
Absolutely. And I say this all the time jokingly, but factually too. It's cheaper to see us during tax time to file taxes and have advisory service just to get advice from us than it is to not file for years and then have to get representation, because then we're attorneys in that and acting as attorneys representing power of attorney.
Yeah.
And so then it gets expensive, right?
Yeah.
And so when I have people like, I'm not going to file this year, I'm like, I'm not going to file this year. I'm not going to file this year. 3 years, I'm like, I'll be seeing them. I'll be seeing them again.
But they got to come.
I'll see you again, but I'll see you under duress, right?
Right.
You know, and I don't want to see that for people. I really want people to, because you can't prosper, right?
Right.
You know, I know we all have the same goal. We want to create generational wealth. We want to make sure our families are better than we came into, right?
Yeah.
And my biggest thing is financial literacy. Like I work with kids. I want to make sure that we know what these numbers mean. They tell a story.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I see people, you know, I see why businesses fail. It's not because the business wasn't successful.
Yes.
You didn't manage it.
That's it. That's it. They're not managing their business and their time well. And if we go deeper, because of my spiritual beliefs, you're not managing your gifts and your skills and your talents that God is giving you well. You're prostituting them.
When you play with it, it doesn't work out in the end. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I see a lot of people playing boss or playing business.
But they ain't a boss.
And I'm like, you're making money, but we got to,
There's no
okay,
strategy.
this is what we got to do.
Come on now.
This is what we got to do. Are you ready? And they're, well, how much is it?
I don't think everyone says, man, I want to be a boss. I want to be an entrepreneur. No, the heck you don't. You just want to make a lot of money.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stress and there's a lot that goes into place of running a successful business.
Yes.
You know, I got 5 families that depend on me and my decision every single day.
Yeah.
3 of them are here today.
Yes.
And if I don't run the business well financially, then it's going to impact them.
Absolutely.
And as a business owner, I got to make decisions with the money that the team may not even like.
Yeah.
But I see the numbers.
Absolutely.
And I'm responsible for the numbers. And you can't make those decisions if you don't see your numbers.
No.
And I've seen people go out there and hire all these contractors when they don't even know they don't have the money to make that hire.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Well, we did like 20 grand last month. That was last month. What is your numbers projecting for the end of this year? You only made 20 grand one month. The month before that, you made 5.
And I think a lot of times, even though I'm glad you said that, Anthony, because the seasonality of a business, every business has a season, right? We have our peaks and we have our valleys, right? Every business. And you have to know what that looks like. Because it happens every year, right? We look year over year to see what businesses are doing.
Yep.
And we see where the peaks are, we see where the dips are. You plan accordingly to that.
Yes.
Like we're not gonna, of course, you think about even department stores, they hire people in
season.
Holiday, right?
Come on now, from October to December.
And then you gotta go.
And then January 1, God bless you.
This is our peak season where we're making money, and we know we're not gonna make that much after the fact, so we can't afford to maintain these amount of people.
The hotel industry, when they're hired, summertime.
When they're about to have people.
Exactly. Man, that's so good. See, you talking good right now. See, this is why you got to get with an EA, a CPA, someone who can sit down with you and say, all right, look, what is your strategy and game plan? And here's the truth. If you really want to be a business owner, I think the most important thing is the foundation. The foundation is your finances. How are you stewarding your finances well? What is your strategy? Because if your finances are in place, if you know exactly what you have coming in, if you have a strategy and a plan with the EA or CPA, then that dictates your operations. It dictates how you're going to market. It's going to dictate the management and the people that you hire on your team. But I think it's backwards. Everyone's going to spend all this money on ad spend and be like, yo, let me go drop 10 grand on spending ads. Well, maybe you should have dropped 3.
Yeah.
Because it's like, that's the better plan
absolutely.
For the future.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that is something that I've really been big on myself because our company has done very, very well. And even last year, I did my books all last year. Great books, right? But this year, I want to go deeper. And I'm okay, look, how do I make better decisions with the money? How do I make better decisions with the people I'm hiring?
Right.
How do I hire them within the budget that we can afford? How do we spend money on ads? How do we spend money on certain things? And then also as well, what am I projecting? So that way I can make better decisions for the company down the road.
Right.
And I just get around people. So
Yeah.
I get around people who don't have a plan. And so if people are ready to get on the plan with someone like yourself, what does that look like? Is it expensive? How can they reach out to you?
Yeah.
Because I told you all, like, I don't want y'all doing Excel. I think it's great if you just started off. Because I do something. Because if you come to them from the very beginning, if you come to someone like EA and be like, hey, I have my Excel, but I'm starting to make a lot of money and I need some help. I think that's great. But at the same time, it's almost like we can't ask God to bless us with the Bentley. And we don't know how to take care of the Honda Accord.
Ooh, say that.
We can't ask God to bless us with $1 million home when we can't take care of the $250,000 home. And it's like where we are wanting to go as a business, where we are wanting to go as a corporation, you got to put things into place. And respectfully, you're not running a business if it's just you and you're spending all your money. You are literally self-employed. A business is when you're running a business, you have a strategy, you have some team members, and you said something, Katrina, that was so good, that people are scared to hire people. Before I hired my boy CJ on to be my right-hand man, we paid CJ over 6 figures. And I remember calling my brother-in-law because I was scared. I was like, I'm about to pay someone 6 figures, bro.
Yeah.
And he was like, bro, you better do it. He said, you should have done that a while ago.
Yeah.
I was like, bro, I'm scared. He was like, why are you scared? He said, do you know how much freedom that's going to bring you to where now you can go out there and focus on this? Then we did that, and we hired like 3 other people. And I was like, bro, this is crazy. But these team members and other contractors have literally taken loads off of me that has allowed me to be more productive in my gift that now brings in more money. Right. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm trying to figure out with my CPA, how can I hire more people?
Yeah.
Because I need more help so I can have more freedom.
Yeah.
And do you help come up with that plan?
Yeah, we look at a lot of things for business owners, right? Okay. One of the things I look at all the time is, how can we scale this?
Yeah.
It's always like, okay, here's this channel of money coming in, but how does this scale?
Yeah.
And so a lot of times what I'll ask is, what are the services that you're offering?
Yeah.
And then what's the one what's bringing in the most money?
Love it.
Because we all wear multiple hats, right?
Yes.
And sometimes we're wasting time on stuff.
Come on.
Or wasting money on stuff, right? Yeah. And so, but we don't know that until we look into it, right? And so I say a lot of times, like, what are the services you're offering? What's bringing in the most money? Where's your time being spent at? Yeah. And one of the scenarios that I run a lot of times is, if you made no more money with what you have in your account, how long could you sustain the business? If you didn't make another $1 today, what's here? How long and we know that these are the standard bills that are monthly happening.
Yeah.
How long could you sustain?
Yeah.
And we at least want to see about 6 months, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we got like 1.5,
Right.
Sometimes it's 0. Like, you got to make this money because everything's going right back out.
Yep.
So then we know we got to either, and I'm not a fan of cutting costs and just to cut costs.
Right.
Because sometimes you just you got to grow. You got to open up the door.
I like that.
But I'm also saying, here's your top 5 spend areas.
Yeah.
And I work with a lot of real estate investors, right?
Yeah.
A lot in the short-term rental space and that sort of thing. And usually the biggest fee for those people is cleaning fees, right? So we know that that's going to be. But I'm an entrepreneur, right? So I think with an entrepreneur's hat when I'm talking to clients. And I'm like, okay, so does it make sense for you to build your own cleaning business?
Ooh, now you're writing off, and your fee is going to be much cheaper because you only got to pay the.
And then you can control.
Shit. Oh my God.
What happens because you got people not showing up because it's their business, right?
You got me thinking.
You see what I'm saying?
You got me thinking. Shoot,
if we keep spending money in an area, does it make sense to create does it make sense?
I pay $1,200 a month to clean my house.
You see what I'm saying?
$300 a week. $1,200.
Does it make sense if this is where I'm spending my money, how can I make this smarter? And that's where talking to somebody else does, because I'm thinking from a different perspective, and I talk to business owners all the time, so I see what's happening. I have a guy making $1 million selling tickets. $3 million selling tickets. And I'm like, how'd you fall in this? He's young. And he's like, oh, I just started buying a few, and then I flip them, and then so there's so much, and there's no shortage of money. There's a shortage of ideas and putting the right resources in place to make things happen. There's no shortage of money. When I hear we're in recession, I'm like, yeah, technically, but there's still money out there.
Oh yeah. I'm about to get in the cleaning business.
But for any service that you're spending a lot of money on, does it make sense? I had a guy years back, he was spending money on the delivery service for their business. So I'm like, does it make sense
Katrina, my dad wants to build a double garage outside to store his lawn stuff and put his car. He calls me and says, hey, it's gonna run me about 50 grand. I said, really? He said something just 2 days ago to me, and you gave me an idea. He said, man, I'm about to get the contractor license myself.
You know what I'm saying?
Because he was like, and I'll just hire the people, because he was like, the problem that he's running into is that people don't have the contractor license, but they're good handy.
They got the talent.
They can build it, but they don't have the license to build it. Now I'm about to call my dad and say, Dad, that is a smart move, and here's why. Get your contractor's license, do the LLC, you become a contractor in the county. Now, Dad, before, if you would have paid him $49,000, you can't write that off.
Yeah.
Now you pay him $49,000 properly, legally and ethically, get with an EA. You can write some of that stuff off now.
Yeah.
Because now you own that business.
Absolutely.
Let's go. We about to end the show. Hey, I'm gonna call my daddy. Y'all listen, y'all. We are gonna put Katrina's information, her business, in today's show notes. She is a jewel, a queen in this space. She's already working with one of my team members. I'm trying to get her with my other team member as well. And here's why. Because I hear a lot of business owners saying, I'm gonna do my taxes because they're trying to save money. Respectfully, I'm gonna say this. I think that's the dumbest thing you can do as a business owner. You need to have an expert who knows way more than you, who can get in there and save you money. So I would rather pay a professional $1,500 if they can save me $10,000, $15,000. And I promise you, you don't know everything when it comes to taxes. I don't know everything when it comes to taxes. And if you're trying to save $1, spend $1 so you can save 10 times that dollar. And so we're going to put all her information, her company's information, in the show notes today. Please reach out to them. Even if it's not the file taxes, get the plan. You know, she specializes in taxes. This is her thing from the IRS. And I've met with her and her team, and I truly do love them. Been talking to them now for about 2 months, just to vet them out, just to make sure they cool. Because, you know, I've only exposed y'all to my CPA, because I love her, but I want to give y'all options, because I know my CPA, she's really expensive. Now, Katrina ain't cheap. I'm going to say that right now. But her prices are definitely, I think, perfect for where she's at. And I think some of y'all could benefit from her services compared to my CPA. So I want to bring on an EA, someone who specializes solely in taxes, to help you all get that plan this year. So go check them out. All the information will be in today's show notes. I'm about to get up off this show so I can call my daddy, because we're going to two businesses. Dad, we getting into the cleaning business, and we getting into the contracting business. And I'm about to build my house, so I may become a contractor myself, got that going, so I can have that right off. Yo, we'll see y'all on the next show. Peace out, y'all.